Hello, good morning. I'm Antonio Artiles, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar. We're going to discuss about some of the measures related to the improvement of urban public transport that have been carried out within the framework of Civitas Destination project during the last 4 years. Civitas Destination allowed to integrate in the same project 6 European sites, an island quite different one from the other in terms of size, population, or geographic characteristics, but with one common objective: improve sustainable mobility, not only for residents, but also for cities, for tourists. Being public transport a fundamental pillar of sustainable mobility in urban areas, we will focus today on these cities, on how these cities have been able to develop tools and strategies to make public transport attractive and easy to use for tourists and visitors. Lots of action have been carried out in terms of public transport these years, but now we will go through the different sites, analyzing the key measures that bring public transport closer to tourists and visitors in Civitas Destination. We are going to talk with Joanna from Madeira, Ritian from Malta, Maria from Resigno, Cristina from Limassol, Federica from Elba, and Jordi from Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. In Madeira, communication activities and promotional campaigns have been carried out. Joanna, could you tell us how were residents and tourists involved and how did they respond to these communication activities? Please tell us also what communication channels did you use to reach tourists and visitors?
Hi, good morning, Antonio. Madeira Partners established a series of strategies and tools to attract residents and tourists to public transport. The first and essential step was the customer profile characterization, and for this, a thorough survey process was applied to tourists and residents, and allowed Horários do Funchal, the main public transport operator, to understand customers' profiles, needs, mobility patterns, and preference. And based on such insight, it was possible to define strategies more focused and more adapted to customer needs. During this process, it was very interesting to see that tourists and residents were very glad to have an opportunity to actively contribute to improve public transport service and operation. Following this assessment process, Horários do Funchal started by outlining communication activities capable of reaching all customer segments and looking for closer engagement with them. At first, Horários do Funchal promoted study visits with children and students and awareness campaigns with schools and universities. Then it was outlining specific campaigns to boost the use of public transport, namely the Bring a Friend campaign, which intended to attract more customers to public transport, and the initiative Christmas Gift Voucher, which intended to promote the acquisition of public transport products. Another important activity was the contests, and the goal of the contests was to encourage interaction with the passengers. Horários do Funchal organized photo contests for the Valentine's Day and for the Carnival, in which passengers were invited to share photos on board of Horários do Funchal buses to apply for a prize. Despite the great reactions of the contests on social media, Horários do Funchal received few quantities of photos. There were also specific contests for children at Children's Day and during the Carnival, where children were invited to draw and create a HF bus and create carnival masks to apply for a prize. The adherence between children was very positive, and it was a great opportunity to promote public transport among the youngest. During these interactive activities, Horários do Funchal realized that pictures with the public transport staff reached higher reaction, emphasizing the fact that the staff is the best way to reach the customers. In addition to these activities, Horários do Funchal developed new marketing material, such as short videos, information brochures, pamphlets, flyers, providing this all in Portuguese and English, and also provided English and attendance course, which strongly contributed for better information and interaction. All these activities were highly promoted through the traditional communication channels, from selling points, company website, tourism information points, hotels, but would also communicate through additional communication channels, such as local businesses, schools, universities, and very importantly, the use of the social media, namely Facebook and Instagram, which showed to be particularly effective tools with residents. Social media allowed Horários do Funchal to create connection with the online audience and to establish greater connection with the public transport brands. As for the factors that drove the implementation of these measures, we emphasize the fact of the trend of combining tactics of traditional marketing and social media. Also, the great need for access and availability of information anywhere and anytime really boosts the successful implementation of these measures. Also, the fact of sustainable mobility has gained priority in the political agenda, with politics more willing to support and finance measures related to public transport. On the other hand, Horários do Funchal faced serious cultural barriers related with the migration of collective to individual transport modes. Before destinations, Horários do Funchal was losing on average 4% of passengers year after year. And with destinations, Horários do Funchal was able to tackle this passenger loss trend and reverse it to an average increase of 2% of passengers during the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Joanna. Now we can move to Malta, where the integration of ferries into the public transport service has been crucial to foster sustainable mobility. Ritian, we cannot see you, but we can hear you. How did you engage citizens and visitors to develop this action? What were the main drivers or barriers that you faced while developing the measure?
Yes, so thank you, Antonio. The objective of this measure was to further integrate the ferry transport in Marsamxet Harbour in Valletta with the overall public transport system, where with such integration we would facilitate a modal shift from land to sea transport, and with this reducing congestion, emission and journey delays, which are very much pronounced in the Valletta region. And we can say that the ferry service at this particular site in Valletta is underutilized, and the current infrastructure does not support the increased patronage due to the topography, where we have a steep hill from the ferry landing site to the city centre. An integral aspect of this implementation of this measure was consultation with key stakeholders, where during such meetings both the destinations project and sustainable mobility were promoted. And this has encouraged the Malta Public Transport, a main stakeholder, to launch a new circular bus route. This bus route was initially planned to be piloted as part of the Destinations project, where we would link the ferry landing site on each side of the Valletta Peninsula to the main bus terminus right outside the city, as well as other points of interest and commercial hubs in central Valletta. In addition to this new route, both residents and tourists benefited from other complementary new services. For example, the ticketing system has been included as part of the RFID card system, and now includes ticketing options for the National Bus Network, the Inner Harbour ferry services and the vertical connections from the ferry landing side on each side of the city of Valletta. During the project lifetime, further connections were launched. In January 2018, an electric trolleybus service was launched. This targets mainly tourists visiting Valletta and the three cities, and it is a fully electric low-floor open passenger trolley which has no fixed schedule and operates on demand. And this is stationed right next to the point where passengers disembark the ferry, so it has great visibility. Now, as part of the Destinations project, Transport Malta also combined an options analysis and a cost-benefit analysis. And this was subcontracted to a team of experts, where an exercise and a demand analysis for the coming years until 2025 was prepared. The analysis considered and enumerated the population of Valletta, tourists visiting Valletta via cruise liners, and other tourists visiting Valletta. This analysis presents the detailed options for the permanent connections. And after evaluating each option, the team of experts, together with Transport Malta, concluded that the best option for this project is the do-nothing option. This bearing in mind that the existing connections, together with a number of other upcoming projects, which are expected to increase the amount of available connections. Now, to better understand the effect that these measures are having, we obtained patronage data from the Malta public transport. And this data shows a steady increase in users over the past 2.5 years, with a peak in the summer months. This can be attributed to an increase in the number of tourists and increased use of the ferry, which connection has been facilitated by the new circular route. The increased usage is also due to increased visibility and promotion of the service. And to gauge the impact of these measures, as well as to understand the awareness and use of the ferry system and connecting public transport options, a telephone survey specifically with the residents of the Valletta region, and an in-person survey with users of the ferry service, where here we have targeted both residents and tourists, were undertaken. And these surveys also analyze the level of user satisfaction with the new bus route. Now, with regards to the drivers and barriers that we have encountered, we have to remember that the creation of intermodal connections, where we facilitate public transport connections and the shift from road transport to sea transport, is fairly new and it's innovative to Malta. And an integral aspect of this measure was stakeholder engagement. It was very vital, where through collaboration with relevant stakeholders, a number of projects being envisaged for the Marsamxett area in Valletta have been identified. Without such interaction with these stakeholders, it would have been difficult to have visibility of all current and planned projects in the area under study. And also keeping in mind that Valletta was the capital of culture for 2018, and the number of projects and preparation for this event have increased.
Thank you, Etienne. We can move now to Rethymno, where the first e-mobility infrastructure in the public transport was launched, and in the region of Crete, thanks to the Civitas Destination project. Maria, could you share with us your view about the experience again, your achievement? In which extent you believe that this can further contribute to enhance the city's profile as a green destination?
Hello, Antonio. Thanks for the question. Yes, it's true. New generation of carbon dioxide neutral vehicles is introduced in the region of Crete, thanks to destinations. Adding the mini electric bus and the municipal electric car in public fleets was rather a breakthrough, not only locally and regionally, but also nationally. Here in Greece, the electric vehicles market is still at an infant stage due to high prices and public concerns about maintenance and technical support, limited supporting instruments from the state, and narrow awareness and interest of the benefits of mobility. Due to the unavailability of mini electric buses in the market, the lack of previous experience or expertise from other Greek cities, bureaucratic procedures, the process took a lot of effort. A number of regulatory issues have triggered delays to the bus circulation launch for almost 1 year, but we were able to overcome the bureaucracy procedures for procurement and licensing by the competent ministry, and finally, Rethymno proudly initiated the bus operation in July 2019, which has become the talk of the town and gained a wide national coverage of media and interest from other municipalities and relevant stakeholders. The minibus has a capacity of 23 people and is accessible to all, such as people with disabilities and parents with baby carriages. We choose a vehicle with small dimensions, therefore suitable for circulation in the narrow streets of the historic center. It operates a new bus line. The circular route connects the city center to the main beach, the bus terminal, and the municipal parking facilities, covering a distance about 3.5 kilometers, and serving both tourists and visitors, tourists and citizens. The new service is provided in collaboration with the public transport operator as a convenient solution for zero-emission trips in the city center, currently offered free of charge. Apart from the bus, the first car was added to the municipal fleet, which is currently employed by the Municipal Technical Services Department, Rethymno. It also serves as a moving advertising for electromobility in the city due to its dedicated signage and messages. And the municipality has also installed the first public electric vehicles charging points network in the region, Before destinations, there were no vehicles electric vehicles in circulation in the city. Now there are more than 10, and the interest is growing. This innovative act for a Greek city enhances the city eco profile and supports its vision to become a green destination. Based on teamwork, Rethymno has received numerous awards at national and European level, with 2 medals in the Best City Awards 2018, 1 gold for Best Sustainable Transportation, and 1 bronze for Integrated Initiatives for Sustainable Mobility. We got a double award in Greek Travel Awards 2019, and the most recent, the 2nd place in large municipalities in European Mobility Week Awards of 2019.
And was the measure adopted by local and regional stakeholders, and how it was embraced by the citizen and visitor of Rethymno? Could you comment about its potential upscaling and replication in the wider area of the region?
An important success factor was the cooperation with the public transport operators since the measure design phase, resulting in the integration of the bus in its fleet and bus service schedules. This ensured the bus operation sustainability after the project's life end. And furthermore, the public transport operator is currently examining the possibility of upgrading its fleet with the procurement of more green vehicles. The design of the new circular route followed consultations with the public transport operator, the taxi association, and the local tourism stakeholders. Residents and visitors were also actively involved in the design of the bus route, discussing and voting amongst alternative scenarios during open-air interactive workshops. And finally, the design route, considering all views, was approved by the municipal council. The bus launch was embraced by the hoteliers and tourism operators who promoted its route and itineraries to their customers, and it's also promoted by the Sustainable Mobility Agency services. Rethymno and the Renewable and Sustainable Energy Systems Lab of Technical University of Crete launched a tailor-made campaign to promote electromobility and the use of the electric bus, including electric vehicles test drives and exhibitions, and promotional material prepared and distributed to hotels, to the public transport stations, to touristic offices and relevant associations. New bus stops and tailored bus signs were developed under this scope, using powerful visuals and messages. And the reaction of visitors and residents was enthusiastic, actually, resulting in more than 4,000 users in 8-month period. The COVID-19 outbreak disrupted the bus operation for almost 4 months, as happened to the public transport operation in a general sense. It's now back to its normal schedules, enjoying preference of many visitors for their travels in the city center. And being the first electric bus nationally, which integrated into a public transport fleet, has inspired replication from other follower cities. Several municipalities conducted Rethymno to learn about the procurement process and the experience from its operation. Also, based on the experience gained, the public transport operator is currently assessing the potential purchase of a second electric bus. The neighboring municipality of Iraklio announced also a 750,000 euros funding for the procurement of 2 electric buses. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. It's quite interesting. Let's move to Limassol. Thanks to Civita's destination and mobility application, and a travel planner has been introduced. Cristina, in your opinion, how useful is the new mobility application for visitors, and how tourists are informed about the system of this application?
Hello, Antonio. Thanks to destinations, in Limassol we created a very interesting interactive mobility application and a travel planner that provides information to residents and tourists for their transportation in Limassol city center, but also in the region of Limassol. The application gives useful information for visitors about how they can commute and how and which way they can use in order to commute in the city center. It includes information regarding the nearest bus stop, bike sharing station, EV charging stations, municipal parking, hiking and walking routes, and attraction point. Also, the application, it can be seen as a user-friendly, and it is available also for iPhone and Android. The information that provides is a real-time information, and both residents and tourists can download the application, and they can schedule their trips. We have to underline that the application is focusing on the effective use of sustainable mobility modes for locals and for tourists also. By using this application, locals have the chance to plan their trips by using public transport and other sustainable mobility modes, so that they can adapt an environmental friendly way of life. And on the other hand, visitors can use the application as a tool for their to organize and to schedule their trips by using sustainable mobility modes. Actually, we have a data with 6,000 users of this application since the beginning of its development. This application is connected with a national system in Cyprus, so it can provide an exact and real-time information regarding the routes of the public transports, also the airport shuttle services for the tourists, intercity buses for urban and rural routes. The benefit of this application focus on the security, the efficiency, and to save cost and time also. With just one click, we can go everywhere. Also, this application is considered a very useful and practical tool to travel because you can find all the information you need. So now, in order to promote this application and to inform tourists about the existence, we had to develop and design a communication strategy. This communication strategy designed and developed in Limassol and included campaigns and competitions in order to attract the users. A competition and campaign took place in Limassol, and we had also a radio campaign that the winners won specific gifts. Also, the communication campaign, the communication plan included promotional material, web promotional banners, articles in hotel magazines. And after the campaign, we had an increase in the numbers of users in 4,840 people. Finally, another tool in order to inform, to promote the application was the very good collaboration with the stakeholders, especially in the tourism sector and hoteliers, that they promoted the application through promotional material and brochures that we gave to their hotels.
Thank you, Christina. It seems to be a quite useful and attractive tool to get a change in the mobility behavior. Let's move to Elba in order to look for a solution for public transport travelers. A new payment alternative have been put into operation. Federica, why did you choose the SMS ticket? Or how visitors and tourists benefit from this system?
Well, good morning, Antonio. The decision to implement the SMS system comes from a weakness of our territory, due to the fact that we only have one official ticket office located in Portoferraio at bus terminal, and very few private retailers all over the island. This is because vendors basically do not consider selling bus ticket a good investment, so they are quite reticent about this kind of business. Actually, a solution could be the installation of vendor machines, but our experience with vendor machine, even if it is a minor experience, it is not really good. On one side, due to vandalism phenomenon that is not very frequent, but it can occur. And on the other side, due to the difficulty to react promptly in case of failure, for the lack of specialized technicians or spare parts in the island, and the need to wait for them to arrive on the mainland. So we can say that the sale of bus tickets is not enough widespread, and this could be a problem, especially for tourists, because more or less residents and most of all students are used to buy the seasonal ticket monthly, but occasional passengers and particularly tourists can be very much affected by this problem. Of course, it is also possible to buy tickets directly on board from the driver, but it's not very convenient for passengers because it costs 35% more, and above all is what the transport operator and also the decision makers themselves would like to disincentive, because when a bus is stationary at bus stop, managing ticketing issues, a long queue of vehicles can occur, especially along the narrow and curvy extra urban roads in Elba. So we prefer to avoid this. Then, as you can understand, Antonio, the SMS ticket seemed to be the best solution in our local context. And I can also add that it has been developed by the local public transport operator, CTT Nord, by virtue of an agreement that the two municipalities of Portoferraio and Rio, the project partners, signed with the company, aiming at receiving practical support for what concerns the measures involving the local public transport in destinations. By the way, this agreement has been a very relevant solution for us. In fact, even if at the beginning it was just a formal partnership, it brought an improving of knowledge and relationship among the parties, and it facilitated the achievement of common goals. Coming back to the SMS ticket, it may be useful to specify also that it basically foresees 4 prices depending on the length of the bus trip. It is possible to buy a ticket of 10, 20, 30 or 40 kilometers. 40 is in fact the maximum length of the extra urban lines. But just the different prices that we foresaw actually created some difficulties for the banks and the mobile phone operators involved to develop the service. And in fact, the provision of the SMS ticket took some time. It would have been probably easier with just one kind of ticket. In any case, in 2017, the SMS ticket for 10 and 20 kilometers has been activated, and from June 2018, also the SMS for 30 and 40 kilometers is available. Regarding the benefits that tourists can gain from this system, as you asked, I can say that to use the service, passengers only have to send a text message to a telephone number before getting on the bus, writing Elba, followed by the numbers 10, 20, 30 or 40, depending on the length of the trip, and they immediately receive an SMS to confirm the purchase. So we can say that the system is quite easy to use, and it really relieves the users from the worry of finding the ticket around, which, as I said before, is not an easy thing to do due to the absence of traditional retailers and ticket machines. In addition, it really costs less than buying on board. For example, from Portoferraio to Marina di Campo, that means from the center of the island to the west side, it will cost €2.90 plus the SMS cost, instead of €4 that you will pay buying the ticket on board. Of course, it is necessary that the kilometric tables are easily available, through which users can calculate how many kilometers they will have to travel from the place of departure to the place of arrival. In fact, the company has disseminated the kilometric tables in the information booklets and has also published on leaflets an extract of the length of the most common routes, starting from the bus terminal in Portofelaio to the main destinations on the island. To conclude, Antonio, I must mention another advantage relating to the SMS ticket, which unfortunately we are experiencing this period of COVID-19 pandemic. Mobile ticketing, in fact, has proved to be very useful during the lockdown and even now, because it has drastically reduced contacts among passengers and staff, both on board and at ticket office, and therefore, in some way, it contributes in reducing the spread of the virus. So it is also useful in this sense.
Thank you, Federica. It's a quite intelligent solution for the problem you have and to solve the need both tourists and residents have in terms of buying tickets. So let's go now with Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, where a new public transport ticket focused on the tourism market was set up. Jordi, what were the main barriers and how do you reach tourists to attract them to public transport?
Hello, Antonio. Well, in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, the size of the public transport network is big enough in order to absorb the potential demand of tourists. So that was not the main problem. However, when Guaguas Municipales, the public transport operator, wanted to attract more tourists to using the transport system, they realized that the private sector, the touristic private sector in the city, in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, had already done a lot of work, and they were quite advanced in terms of attracting tourists to using their mobility and transport services. So in order to make public transport more accessible for tourists, Guaguas Municipales decided to develop and set up new touristic-oriented tickets in order to facilitate moving around the city to visitors and tourists. So together with the tourism board, Guaguas Municipales analyzed the travel patterns and mobility behavior of tourists around the city. And after this assessment, Guaguas Municipales developed a one-day ticket and 3 days ticket with no limits of trips. Besides that, and thanks also to the collaboration of the tourism board of the city, Guaguas Municipales was in touch with the Hoteliers Association in order to reach an agreement to sell these tickets directly in hotels and apartments, trying to reach tourists much more in a direct way.
Thank you, Jordi. To sum up, within Cita's destination project, each side has developed several solutions to solve the needs of residents and also the needs of tourists and visitors in terms of urban mobility. Sometimes, for the same problem, we have found a common solution, while in other cases, for the same problem, and due to the characteristics of each site, different alternatives have been developed. That makes the project a very interesting living lab due to several of these solutions can be replicated or adapted to other scenarios. Thank you very much for all of you to attend this meeting, and we will see you soon.